here. Checo Perez, breaking news, signs a multi-year contract with Red Bull Racing. How, Sway? How is this even a thing? In a formula, the upper echelon motorsport formula in the world that prides itself on meritocracy. Checo Perez, aka the Mexican Minister of Defense, hasn't done anything right thus far season to date. Nearly takes out his teammate a couple of races ago, turn 1 at Miami Grand Prix. Can't get out of Q1 at Monaco. Can't even get out of Q2 sometimes. So what are we doing then? I just don't understand this. How has he managed to bag this? Surely Checo Perez, Mexican Minister of Defense, must be the luckiest man in Formula One. This in the week where Esteban Ocon has been sacked off. Yuki Tsunoda cannot get a break. Felipe Drogovic, Teo Pourchaire et al. Are waiting on the sidelines. What are we doing here? Honestly, True North, Mike, I don't understand. I know that there is politics and money involved, and Christian Horner, there is a debt of gratitude to be played, and Lannister always pays his debts. There were 2 drivers in Red Bull, only one of whom backed their team principal unequivocally around the peak times of Christian Horner's allegations, and that all has a part to play in this. But yet and still, the breaking news shocks me. The level of nepotism and inequity, or inequity even, in Formula One never ceases to amaze. Philip Claren writes, Checo Perez has signed a 2-year deal to remain with the Bulls that are red until the end of 2026 Formula One season. Of course, Autosport. Philip Claren writes, the Bulls that are red. Why would he say Red Bull? Perez's latest contract extension will see him carry on as Max Verstappen's teammate for 6 consecutive seasons into F1's new regulation cycle. This, True North, is chaos. Surely now, as far as a driver pairing, they have a very noticeable soft underbelly, if indeed you harbour aspirations of winning yourself a Constructors' Championship. Now, when they were dominant in years previous erstwhile, of course Max Verstappen was going to run away with both the Drivers' and Constructors' Championship. Yes, by himself. Now, however, in the final years of this rule and reg set, of course the likes of McLaren in the hands of Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri, similarly Scuderia Ferrari in Sainz and Charles Leclerc's hands, are converging upon the meta that is the RB20. And in that circumstance, surely what you can't afford to have is one of your drivers not even getting out of Q1. What are we doing? Imbalance any? Good luck, Red Bull. Philip Claren continues. The 34-year-old Mexico. Oh, by the way, 39-year-old Lewis Hamilton couldn't get a multi-year contract, but Checo Perez can. Listen, the Mexican Minister of Defense in previous year mentioned no names, Abu Dhabi 21, Turkey 21 has been absolutely incredible. Indeed, some may argue that Christian Horner has his job to thank for Checo Perez's performance in the latter stages of 2021. But I digress. The 34-year-old Mexican, if indeed balance is a thing, and fairness and meritocracy in F1, the 34-year-old Mexican started off the 2024 season well alongside Max Verstappen, taking 3 runner-up spots over the first 4 Grand Prix that helped gain momentum to salvage his seat for 2025. Oh, the chaos. Oh, the humanity. I feel like I'm losing my mind. I read something earlier actually on the ESPN website worth mentioning at this point, that Christian Horner had said that Checo Perez would have to do something really, really daft, materially underperform the car and his teammate to jeopardise his multi-year contract. What? What are we have we not been watching the past couple of races? What do you mean he will? What do you mean future tense, Christian Horner? Surely we're seeing that in real time if Checo Perez can't even get out of Q1. at Monaco. Yeah, true that it was difficult to drive the car and you couldn't curb it, and experiencing difficulty on the back of the suspension and its lateral stiffness, etc., etc. But yeah, and still, come on. Material underperformance. His performance over the past couple of races, the Mexican Minister of Defense, is nothing if not underperforming. What are we doing here? A recent dip, continues Autosport, in form appeared to cast some doubts over Red Bull's final decision, but amid a volatile driver market, the Milton Keynes-based team has now opted to play it safe and keep its driver lineup stable for the next 2 years. Oh, the humanity, chat. Oh, the humanity. Sometimes with stability comes incompetence and weak spots. They are vulnerable now, more than ever, especially when you look at the landscape, eh? Where is the weak spots in McLaren's driver lineup? I would argue, chat, that they do not have any. In the hands of Oscar Piastri and Lando Norris. Super strong across the board. Ferrari this year, Carlos Sainz and Charles Leclerc. Very little to speak of if we're talking about blind spots and weaknesses in their driver lineup. And similarly next year with 7-time champion, GOAT settings, Mount Rushmore of F1 settings, one Sir Lewis, Carl Davidson, Hamilton. So how's that going to work out? Convergence isn't going anywhere. You would argue, you would expect the likes of McLaren and Ferrari to get closer to Red Bull between now and next year. So how's that going to work when Checo Perez, legend, Mexican Minister of Defense, isn't getting out of Q1? How's that going to work, Christian? Love the loyalty, chap. But do you know what I mean? Sometimes you've got to make sensible performance-based decisions. Form is temporary, class is permanent. But where have either one of those things been if we're talking and assessing, honestly, Sergio Checo Perez's performance over the past 3 races? But I digress. Now is an important time, says Christian Horner, quote, to confirm our lineup for 2025 and are very pleased to continue working together with Checo Perez. Horner continues, continuity and stability are important for the team, and both Checo Perez and Max are saying, oh, go on then. As I'm reading it, I'm so like, is this really Christian Horner talking? Every single year previous, it's always been about, no, we're going to delay Checo Perez's contract signing because every time he signs a contract, complacency and laissez-faire seeps into his performance. What's changed? Genuine non-rhetorical question here. What's changed why Checo Perez can underperform the car so materially, ostensibly, over the past few races, and now we get the timing of the new contract, not a 1+1, the likes of which every other driver on the grid currently, as at June 2024, is getting. Not a 1+1, a multi-year. What's changed? There has been a material variable. Look at me, I can't even talk. So shocked. There has been a material variable change driving this multi-year. Checo Perez on the back of the last few races. You're having a laugh, aren't you? Perez added, I'm delighted. Yeah, I bet you are, mate. I bet you are. You've won the lottery here, chap. If eligibility criteria is not getting out of Q1 in Monaco and getting out qualified by Logan Sargent in a Williams, for Pete's sake, in 4 of 28 starts, then sure, I must be able to get an interview too for that second seat in that Red Bull, because I too could not get out of Q1 in Monaco and be out qualified for Logan Sargent. I say that very firmly with tongue in cheek, but it rings true, right? I make a sound point. What are we doing here, Red Bull? Being part of the team is an immense challenge and one that I love. Checo Perez says, yeah, of course, mate. I want to thank everybody for all the trust that they put in me. There is a lot to pay back with excellent results on and off track. Excellent. I can't even read this anymore. You know what I mean? If credibility is a thing, when you hear these words coming out my mouth, you've got to call my credibility and Checo Perez's and Christian Horner's into question, surely. It is bonkers. I cannot believe that I'm reading this. Yuki Tsunoda, yet to sign anything. Carlos Sainz still doesn't have a job. Esteban Ocon out on his ones for for next year. All of these really good drivers. Again, Esteban Ocon's made some mistakes, but bloody Nora, what are we doing? Checo Perez, the breaking news, as at 48 minutes past the hour on this, the 4th of June 2024, has signed a multi-year contract with the Bulls that are red, courtesy of a debt of gratitude that needed to be paid back to him, courtesy of Christian Horner. I say again for the avoidance of doubt, and this is the important, if my opinion is worth anything, and if I know anything about F1, here is the story in this, the driver. What you're just hearing is a function of this truth. Around the peak time of Christian Horner's allegations, there were 2 Red Bull drivers in that car who reported to Horner. Only one of those came out before the world's press and media and backed Christian Horner, offering his unequivocal verbal support. That driver had a name, chat. That driver's name was Checo Perez. He's the Mexican Minister of Defense, and that fella has struck the lottery today. He's extended his contract by an additional 2 years. Not 1 year, not a 1+1, a 1 year deal with an option of extend a 2-year contract. Oh, the humanity. I cannot square that circle, nor can I reconcile what Checo Perez has just signed with his material underperformance over the last few races. Help me. It makes no sense, but that's the news. Prosecution rests. No further questions, Your Honour.